If you guys didn't know, I do have my own in-game charm, so if you want to head over to my Twitch and drop a prime sub or tier 1, whatever, you can get my in-game charm now. There's a lot of operators in Rainbow Six Siege, and it's normal that a game like this with so many characters, a few operators are going to be problematic, or they're going to be completely trash. So in today's video, what I'll be going over is my thoughts and opinions on how they can rework certain operators to make them better for the game. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts and opinions on today's topic, and let me know how you would rework one operator. Starting off with Sense. Sense is hands down the worst operator in the game, so I think Sense needs this more than anybody on this list. The main problem with Sense at this current moment is you're able to literally throw down a Sense gadget and it doesn't stop the enemies from literally running through it and absolutely pegging you. Not only that, on the flip side, you also have Sense's gadget that sometimes just goes everywhere. When you throw Sense's gadget down, there's no arrows, there's no guiding marks. You're kind of just raw dogging that, and that's a super silly problem that makes Sense not even worth bringing as a smoke operator. If I were to rework Sense and change Sense, it would definitely be on Sense's gadget. What I would do is, instead of smokes, I would make the wall either one, a decaying smoke wall, kind of like Viper in Valorant. Basically what would happen is if somebody is going to run through it, their damage is going to go low very quickly, and this in turn is going to make it more rewarding for that type of situation. So if you run through it, you have to decide if you want to be a low HP and then instantly get refragged, because you're basically could get downed from the smoke canister if you're low enough. Or what else I think they can do with a Sense wall, just to take another page out of Valorant's book, is maybe even make it some type of hard wall. Not like a reinforcement, but basically like a wall. When you throw it down, it just throws like maybe 3 big blocks that can block off some of sight. And that would make it a lot easier to actually want to play Sense, and it would be more rewarding to play this operator. Next is a little bit of a rework when it comes to the way the cameras work in Siege. Every single operator that has a primary gadget as a camera, like for example Valkyrie, Maestro, Echo, etc., whenever someone Z-pings on that cam, there should be like a pinging noise whenever you hear a Z-ping. And what I mean by Z-ping, it's just basically like a yellow ping. Mute has been one of my favorite operators since the game first came out, but I feel like Mute has always felt flawed in placing his gadget. For example, you're only able to place his gadget in specific areas, for example on the floor, and that's it. I think Mute Jammer should almost work like an ADS. You should be able to place it literally anything, anywhere, on top of walls, on floors, etc. It would just give us more versatility with how we use Mute Jammers, especially with the radius change on Mute Jammers. So once you place down the Mute Jammer, it shows you like a little ring, and this could be good for denying wall. But if a player was to use the Mute Jammer to deny a wall, then people would be able to drone past that wall because the radius wouldn't pick it up. So I think it's a cool just interaction that should be added. A nice quality of life rework would be on Fuse. When you place down the cluster charge, it's actually going to tell you how it's going to be placed. And what I mean by this is, right now the Fuse cluster charge, when you place it down, it doesn't really tell you or indicate where it's going to go, because it's usually right to left, and a lot of newer players don't know that. So it'd be nice if there was like a beginner tips that would make it easier for players to understand that. Azami is one of the most broken defenders we've ever seen, and probably the most fun defender we've ever seen, but she does need some type of nerf. So instead of her Azami barriers being 5 and not ever breaking, I think that there's 2 solutions with Azami's barriers. There's one, a decay effect, which means the longer it's up, the faster it will break. So for example, if you throw one down, it would have the life cycle of like 30 to 40 seconds, for example. If you don't like that idea, I've thought about this idea where basically every Azami barrier would almost have an HP bar. So when you shoot it, the HP of course goes down, and if you shoot a barrier enough with bullets, that would destroy the barrier. The reason why I think this would be a good solution is because every single operator has a limited amount of ammo, and there's been times where I've literally run out of ammo. So you have to pick and choose what you're doing with your ammo. That would also be a fantastic buff for an operator like Cali, and people would actually want to play Cali, because let's be honest, Cali sucks. On the topic of Cali is one of the most underwhelming operators that we have. I think we can make some minor adjustments to make a Cali a more viable pick. For example, back around year 1, year 2, Glaz used to actually be able to penetrate castle barricades. I don't know why they ever changed that, because it seemed like such a unique interaction with a sniper rifle. So I think that we should actually add this back for both these operators that have sniper rifles. Cali should be able to shoot through a castle barricade and leave a hole through the barricade. Only a bullet hole, and I know that we're trying to not bring back bullet holes in Siege, but I feel like this would be the one instance where it would be relevant. So do this for Cali and Glaz, and their pick rates would not skyrocket, but it would be a nice counter for these operators. Not only that, but Cali should be able to equip a 1.0 scope, kind of like Glaz's rifle on her scope. Also, if you hit anybody on the chest and head, it should instantly kill somebody with Cali that's a 2 armor and below. Now, when it comes to 3 armor, it does make sense that sometimes you'll body them and then you'll have to shoot them twice because they are 3 armor. We should really be using and utilizing these 3 armor, 2 armor, 1 armor, etc. You should be basing your picks off of this, and you should be getting the positive for being a good Cali player and using the sniper in a good way. Recruit has been taken out of rank for the last, it feels like almost 4 years now. And I used to love running Recruit back in the day, especially with Recruit rushing. That was just peak Siege. If you guys didn't know, Recruit is an operator in Siege, which you used to be able to actually play in ranked. And even when they initially changed Recruit and gave him all this other utility that you were able to use, I still thought that was a unique interaction that you were able to have with an operator. He didn't have a primary gadget, but his primary gadget slot was filled in with another piece of secondary gadget. So for example, instead of him just bringing grenades, he was also able to bring stuns, and that was so cool. But they took him out of ranked, and I feel like if they just completely reworked Recruit, whether that's giving him an ability or just change up his class system, because I feel like him right now in ranked would be viable. If you were able to just give him any type of utility that he wanted for both slots, that would be solid. But I did have an idea where basically, since Recruit wears ski masks, it's kind of like Rook. If you put down a pack, you can give all your teammates armor, and it would basically allow them to have 2-shot headshot. Shashanka is pretty underwhelming as well as an defender, and I kind of want them to give you the selection and opportunity to either pick his new ability or his old turret ability, because it was honestly super fun being able to, you know, have these weird shield strats where you would sit in the corner and hold it down as Shashanka. And even after they nerfed it, it was still very fun. Not the most viable operator, but it was just a fun operator. And since we have so many defenders in Siege, I think it's good to have 1 or 2 that's just fun. Not the most viable on 90% of maps, but just fun. Now, his current fire ability with his turret is cool, but it shoots too freaking slow and it reloads too freaking slow. So I think to adjust that, they need to really up the speed of that and just figure out that, because reloading and shooting takes way too freaking long, and most of the time people just die way too early to actually use Shashanka's ability, so it's not very viable to pull out. It would be cool if they added almost like an underbarrel under his gun that he can just shoot out instead of having a whole different ability that he needs to pull out. Now, Capitel is one of those attackers that on paper looks so good, but in reality, it's very hard to use his utility in a team game when most of the people that play the game don't have teammates. So what I think Capitel needs is he needs, once again, just like Shashanka, a speed increase with his utility. And honestly, the Capitel bullet is very cool, but I think it would be better off if it was almost like a side barrel on his primary guns that he was just able to quickly go in between, because having to pull out a Capitel bullet, bolting it, and then shooting and reload takes so much time, and it sucks. IQ is one of those operators, once again, just like Capitel, on paper, very good operator, but the execution is very rare for you to want to use IQ. Now, don't get me wrong, when she works amazing. Personally, I think it would be really good if you were able to actually use her IQ scanner on her primary gun, instead of her secondary. And I understand they would have to rework probably the model of IQ because it is technically on her arm, but I think that players would want to use IQ more if they didn't have to pull out the pistol and have that really slow, annoying animation. And I'm gonna keep saying this in these videos. Nock should be able to walk through any gadgets that is electronic. If she has her ability on and something's electronic and it's in that vicinity, she should be able to walk through it without it going off. For example, like a proxy alarm is a huge one since it is a proxy alarm that's electronic. If Nock turns on her ability, she should be able to walk through it and not get pinged by it. Same with any other electronic ability. Of course, we can talk about mechanical. That would not be a direct solve for Nock. She would still be able to get hit by goo mines and stuff like that. But electronics, it only makes sense for an operator like Nock. Because right now, Nock is really boring to play because you can sneak through a few cams, but then boom, you hit like a random EDD or like a proxy alarm, and it's super freaking annoying. And Cav is one of those operators where a lot of people think her silent step is completely silent, but it's actually not. And I think they need to revert that and make her silent step completely silent, because at the end of the day, audio is a huge thing, but also defender operator selection is a huge choice. If you're bringing a Cav, then you're also missing out on so much utility, and it's very rare that you're going to get an interrogation. I think overall they might need to actually change how you interrogate. That would be way more viable. For example, if someone has their back towards you as Cav while standing up and you didn't down them, you should be able to click a button and get an interrogation off that way. Almost like you're right behind somebody sneaking up, putting a knife to their neck. Because that's basically what our animation is downed. You should have multiple ways that you can interrogate besides someone just being downed. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you guys like, sub, and comment, and let me know which opinions you didn't like or did like. Also, let me know if you have your own personal ideas of some changes. Besides that, guys, have a great day.